Hi everyone, welcome back. So in this video, I want to do a full in-depth tour of my cargo trailer to camper conversion. So this might be pretty boring for you if you're not interested in this sort of thing. So I've got another link to a shorter video that's, you know, just a few minutes, goes through the camper. I'm going to link that above, but if you really want to get in depth into this, then this is the video for you. I'm going to try and walk you through each section step by step, and if you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I really appreciate your comments because I think because of you guys, I've done a lot of the things that I have done to here. A lot of your suggestions have helped me. So let's get into it. We're going to start on the outside, we're going to walk through the outside, and then we're going to jump inside. Let's start on the trailer itself. So the trailer is a 6x10. So it's 6 feet wide, 10 feet long, and the way they measure these cargo trailers, it's not to tongue. That's the actual box. So this is, the box right here is 6x10. Why did I use a 6x10 trailer? Well, I think that's what you got to figure out when you're doing these conversions, is what do you want for your personal application? Like for me, I'm towing this with a small truck. I'm towing it with my Ford Ranger, and I'm doing a lot of off-road, off-grid camping. And so that was my ideal. I want it small enough that basically I got a bed in there, a shower, a toilet, little kitchen. I wanted it all jammed in as tight as possible so that I could tow it into some pretty fantastic spots. When I started with this trailer, it was 998 pounds. That included everything. The frame, the wheels, the whole thing. So starting from that light trailer, I added about 1,000 pounds into this. So I'm right around the 2,100 pounds, fully loaded. That's with the 30 gallons of water, the 6 RV batteries I got in there, 2 propane tanks up front here, and just loaded up with everything that ready to go. So that makes it into a fairly light trailer for pulling with my truck, because my truck, I think it's rated for 5,000 pounds it can do. But when you're pulling off-road, or especially in the snow like this, the lighter the better. You can see I don't have my off-road tires on it yet. That's a future project that I'd like to do that. So the trailer itself, I insulated all, like the sides, the top is all done with R7 insulation. So it's got R7 in the walls. And then down below, I used R14. So basically it's 1 inch in the walls, 2 inches in the floor. And that gives me R14 in the bottom, R7 on the walls. Up top, you can see I've got my solar panels up there. We can get into that in a bit. The windows, they're just RV windows. So I just went to a salvage yard. And what I wanted in my RV window is I wanted a flip out RV window. So you can see on the bottom, half of it just flips out. Because I didn't like those side slide ones, because I like it to open up my windows in a good rainstorm and not have water coming inside. So I specifically looked for these windows. I would have loved to find some that were insulated windows, but I couldn't. So those are just your standard RV windows, but they flip out. So let's go into the front here. I'll just show you the front. So based on the cutouts, like that cutout there from that window, I took that piece of aluminum and I used it up front here. So up front, I've welded in a bracket for 2 propane tanks. I know it's kind of tough to see in there. So you got the 2 propane tanks. I welded in this bracket across here, and then the selector here, and then it runs down there, and my propane runs along the bottom. I used rigid steel, black steel propane line. Just a little piece of copper in between the two here. So this is the cover from that window. I used a flip-up jack so I could get lots of clearance. Right here, like when you're off-roading with a trailer, when you're braking over a hill, this is kind of the lowest spot it always hits. So that's why the flip-up jack flips out of the way. This is the other cover from this window over here on this side. I used it to cover my diesel fuel tank. So this is my diesel fuel tank. I just wrap it with this plastic. It keeps, because there's a little vent here, it keeps the water from going inside. So that's my diesel fuel. I wanted it outside the trailer. I didn't want it inside because it stinks. In here I mounted, I built this little rack here first off. It's basically pretty simple, just a couple uprights here, and then there's a square, and then I mounted this, I think it's like just a Tupperware container on here, Rubbermaid, sealed up. In here I got all sorts of my junk, tie straps. But here's where I mounted my pump. See the little fuel filter there down below, and then the power coming in, and then from here, from this pump out to the diesel heater is a hard line. So what I did is I ran all of it in an old garden hose. So that hard line is run through this garden hose all the way on the inside of the frame at the top, all the way back to the diesel heater, way back there. So you can see where it is back there. So that keeps it all protected when I'm off-roading. So there you can see the black pipe for my propane, and then the copper up into the trailer. That's for the propane stove in there, and for the propane on-demand hot water heater. In here I got my conduit. You can see the conduit under there. That's how I ran all my wires, because I wanted to be able to run them after too. So I ran junction boxes and conduit, so if I ever want to feed some wires I can do it no problem. Fairly basic. That's my sink coming out there. I've got a little fitting that snaps onto there and goes into one of those portable sewage tanks for when I'm camping in a campground. And then same from my shower. So just going down the side here. So this up here, this is the vent for my on-demand hot water heater. Because it's so cold, and just to keep the heat inside, I just put this piece of foam in here for now. But I just popped that foam out of there, and we can get in. I'll show you how that works inside. This vent here is for a marine. So that's a marine vent, like an exhaust vent for a boat. And it just keeps it all protected so no water's going into your trailer. Again, same window as the other side. Down below, we've got our diesel heater exhausting there. There's no muffler on there, but man, it's still quiet. Just the way it is quiet. You can hardly hear it. Continuing back, this is my water fill right here for my tank. So inside I got 30-gallon tank. So that's the water fill. I also got these stabilizers. So I installed these RV stabilizers here. And then I added the big pads to them. So this is a 7-inch pad. And then same there, RV stabilizer, 7-inch pad. The axle itself, before it had the leaf spring on the bottom of the axle. And so I've flipped that. I've taken the leaf spring and I've put it on top of the axle. And I've added these shocks to it. You can see those shocks. That made a world of difference. This thing would bounce like crazy going down the road before. Now it doesn't bounce at all. I highly recommend shocks. So I still got to put some off-road tires on there, something a little bit wider. You can see how much that sinks in the snow. It's not great. But that's on the to-do list. Wrapping around the back here. Cargo doors. Not a ramp. That's what I wanted. So this opens up, and then this table pops up like that. You can put your barbecue on there. And then what I did is I mounted some lights. These are just exterior lights, and I just reversed them so they shine back, and then you can flick it on, and you got some light where you're barbecuing at nighttime. Okay, let's continue around to the other side. So just before we go around to the side, I'll just show you my solar panels up top. So you can see here, so there's 2 solar panels mounted up there. They're 170 watts each. Down this side here, So on this side I've got my, this is my plug. So this is just a 15 amp 110 plug. So I just plug my extension cord into there, and then I can run it into, like, say you want to run into the campground, or if I want power in here if I'm working inside. Just an easy way to get that. Again, my RV window, I put an exterior light up there. And then here for my door latch, so this is just a T-handle for a gate. It comes with a key, and that just real simple, open, close. To prevent someone from locking me in here, I just drilled a hole down here, and this is where I put my lock that normally will be up here. So I just snap my lock in there, and now you can't close the door. You can't get close to even getting that latched in. For my steps, I got these RV fold down steps. So these are solid steps. Basically they just fold up into there, inside, and they'll latch up in there. And then what I like about these is, especially for where I camp really off-road and all over different terrains, is they got adjustable legs. So you can adjust it for the uneven terrain, and they give you a nice solid step. You're not scared about stepping off or slipping or anything. Okay, so now we're at the door. Let's go inside. Okay, so first of all, the front door when you come in. So this is the side cargo trailer door. I did not insulate it, it's still just plywood. And then I just put one of those T-handle gate latches as the door latch in here. It was just very easy to do. And what I do to lock it is I've just got one of these sliding locks. You can just slide it, and then I drilled a hole in the D handle here, and that secures it. So then moving on to the sink area. First of all, when you walk into the right, fairly simple little cabinet up top. We've got for our dishes, food stuff. Then we've got a shelf down here. Then our sink, this is a bar sink. I think it's just a 17 or 18 inch bar sink. And what we liked about it was that it was deep. So it gives you a lot of spot to put dishes when you're washing, because since it is such a small sink, you need a little bit of depth to it. The faucet is for a laundry tub. So this is a laundry tub faucet. It's plastic. I wouldn't say it's super good quality, but it's quite cheap. And it's light, which is good for an RV. Because there wasn't enough counter space here, I put this little drying rack here. So basically this just folds down, and then you've got a spot to, when you're washing dishes, to dry them. So that just folds up, and then it latches there. Underneath the sink, I just plumbed it just like you would a house. So if you can see back there, that's PEX plumbing with some of these braided connectors. This is an RV P-trap. Comes out, and then basically I just ran it with tubing straight out the bottom, and then I added a little vent over there. So down here we just have our pots, pans. I also installed down here, I put the trailer connector, so it's all inside. All the wires come into this for the trailer, and then they go back down out through the floor. So now onto the bathroom area. So in the bathroom area up top there, again another cupboard. In there we keep our towels, toiletries, and a first aid kit. Little shelf over there, that where we put the soap while we're using the shower, and then just a couple little shelves here for miscellaneous stuff. Again, you can see the PEX lines. Those are all on the interior. I didn't put anything in the wall. I didn't put any PEX lines underneath, because we do a lot of winter camping, and when it gets cold, you want to have those inside. They'd freeze solid anywhere else. This is a little porta potty we got. It's a 365, it's called. And what I liked about it is that it's a manual pump. It's not a battery operated pump, which I didn't want. and also it's got a latch on it. So there's a hook on the back that grabs onto it, and then down here it locks it in place so it can't move. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that would latch it right into here so I can just travel. It's all locked in here. Right beside that, we've got our shower. Definitely not a big shower, but not bad. I think the base is 24 by 27. Again, you can see the PEX lines. And the shower base, basically it just runs outside. But I don't know how people go without a shower inside their trailer, because when you're out and about doing things, or who wants to shower outside, especially if you're doing winter camping? You know, when it's minus 30, showering outside is not, I wouldn't imagine would be much fun. For plumbing my shower, I basically just took one pipe. You can see I'm just coming straight off the hot water. So I don't mix, there's no mixer here where you can control the hot and cold. It's just full on hot. So what I do is I set my hot water tank, my hot water heater that's in here. I set it on the temperature that I want, and then when you open this up, it's just full on, and that gives you a nice warm temperature to shower with. Up top, I just mounted one of these little flexible shower holders here, so you can just move it around, pull it out, and it just goes in there. And that gives you, it sets it, we're exactly where you want it. And then it's an off and on shower head. The shower rod that goes around, I just made it out of 3/4 inch, or maybe this is inch PVC. And then I could get full all the way outside, you know, like you can match the contours of the trailer, which was kind of difficult to do. So this helps me do that. And then I can have my shower curtain here, get in and out there. Fairly straightforward. Basically, I've got just a shower curtain that wraps all the way around the back to the sides, and then this is just this is the actual, what you'd call the shower curtain to get in and out through here. Okay, let me jump into the water heater, how I did that. So the water heater, it's located right here in between the fridge and the shower. It's one of those on-demand hot water heaters, and I showed you the vent outside where it blows outside. So now I'm going to show you inside. But one thing you'll notice, there's a little fan down here. So this fan is controlled. Up here I've got a switch that I can turn that fan on, and then that causes positive air pressure. So that forces the air through and then out that vent. So that causes that, so there's no carbon monoxide buildup in here. But just in case there is a carbon monoxide detector in here, of course. But it's never gone off, it's never even registered anything high. So this keeps it so that it's always, it's positively like pushing the air out, no matter, because what I found before is if you had a strong wind, sometimes the wind would blow back in and then it would shut off your hot water heater. So this way it never shuts off when you want it to run. Okay, so now I'll just jump down in here. You can see where the hot water heater is. I'll just move this shower curtain and we'll get a better view. Okay, so now we got the shower curtain out of the way. I just tucked it up top. We can see how this is. So this is the door right here for the hot water heater. And then you can see my PEX lines coming in there. So here's the hot water heater in there. So basically, a lot of these valves you wouldn't need unless you're doing extremely cold camping. So that's what, for me, since I'm doing, like we were out there in minus 38 degrees Celsius, I think it's almost the same Fahrenheit when it reaches that temperature. But what would happen if you didn't have all these valves on here is, in here is a heat exchanger full of water, and the cold air from the outside, this vent here where it's going outside, it will freeze this and you'll split it. So what I do is we run the shower, and then to do that there's a valve on there for my cold. It allows water into the shower, and then this valve allows it into the pipe to the sink or the pipe to my shower here. So what I'll do is I'll shut this off, shut the other valve off, and then down below you'll see there, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little valve down there, just down here, and so you can shut it off when you're running the shower, but then you open it up, and then you can see there's a little tube here. So this little tube drains this whole hot water heater. So I just shut this off, shut that off, open that up, and then I open up this valve up here, and it allows, it's just like a vacuum break, and then all the water drains out of here. So then this thing will never freeze. There's no water in it anytime that I'm traveling or anytime that I'm not using the shower. Pretty simple system. My propane line's there, goes out to my tank out front. There's my hot water supplies right there, and then the hot water coming out of the tank. Up top you can kind of see it, maybe a little difficult, but that's the vent. Anyways, I'll link, you can see I'll link a little video where you can see how I installed this if you want more information about it. So that works really well for me. I don't like the RV tank, like an RV hot water tank. I don't like the idea of packing around an extra 10 gallons of water for no reason, because you can't actually suck any of the water out of it. You got to fill up what you're taking out of it, so you've always got that weight for no apparent reason. So this made it nice, keeps it nice and light. You've got as much hot water until you run out of your main tank as you want, and I really like it, and it's fairly cheap to do. So I was thinking about doing an exterior shower, like running a pipe through over here and having an exterior shower, but again, with the cold camping we're doing, it just doesn't make sense. So while I'm running this, once I open up the valves, everything's shut, everything's working, I'll close this door, so that keeps it sealed, and then I'll flip that fan on, and that pressurizes this cabinet and pushes the exhaust gas out of the unit there. And that's worked for me. But again, I don't know if I'd recommend it. I think you'd have to do whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, let's move on to fridge and stove. So here's my fridge and stove area. So the fridge is a 12-volt fridge, which I kind of wanted because I like the idea of just being able to travel with it on and just running it off of my truck while I'm driving. It's very, very good on battery usage. I think roughly when it kicks in, it's running roughly 2.5 to 3 amps, but it's duty cycling rate, of course, of how cold it is outside and everything. To allow enough air flow through here, I had to install a fan down below here. I'll show you that when I get into my bench here and how I've got all these things laid out here. But again, that's just a 12-volt fridge, and it's a compressor fridge. It does have the actual compressor in it. I picked it up used. It had a few dents on it. It was brand new, but it had these dents on it. So I got it at from a guy that was planning on using it that didn't. Up top, it's just a 2-burner stove. Just picked it up off of Amazon. I like this one because you don't have to light it yourself. It's one of those, what do they call it, piezo lighter. So you just turn it, gas comes on. Whoop. Nice and easy. Only thing I find with this, it gets too hot. It's just a little bit too much flame. If I could turn it down somehow, I definitely would like to do that. The cover is, again, it came with this cover. I just took off the sides that flip out because I didn't have enough clearance behind it. The depth of this cabinet right now, I think, is about 20 inches. And then this panel right here is 24 inches, just to give you the idea. And you can see how the pan down below the shower pan is like an extra. So that was 27 inches. So just to give you an idea of how deep this little cabinet is that I built here. Got my diesel heater up here. Great little diesel heater. I know it seems to be hit and miss with them, but this one's been very good. And I really feel like a lot of the problems that I hear and read about with them is because they weren't installed properly. So there's some really good videos out there of how to do it properly, and I'll link to the one to my install, but really, if you look at my install, I credited another guy that I learned most of it from. So I've got my little shelf here, all my cooking stuff here, and then up top this is the little drawer. So I've got all of the things in here, like our utensils, all that sort of stuff. Up above that is cupboards all the way along. And how I built these cupboards is, this is just a frame. This isn't like a cupboard that's been mounted to the wall where you've got a top and a back to it. Basically, there's just a piece of plywood in there that I attached using this aluminum angle iron, and then it hangs off of this frame that I put here. And the frame, I've got where is it, over here, these aluminum brackets that attach to the roof struts, or studs, the roof studs. So up here we've got all of our another little chunk of our food, my electronics, drone, all that sort of stuff that's in there. Over there we've got our sleeping bags, and then we've got a cabinet there that is my cabinet, and then Sue's cabinet for clothes. Back here we've got, so these are the benches that I built. So under here is my water tank and my diesel heater, and we can get into that a little bit. But one thing that keeps this whole unit from freezing, because I'm basically just running off my diesel heater right now, and again, like I mentioned, it was -38, no problem, nothing froze. So to keep that going though, this is my diesel heater. This is my the heat coming out of the diesel heater, and then I've got over there, you can see a big vent. It's just a big open vent, and that allows the air to come in here, the cold air in there, and then it comes across here and then gets blown out here. So this cycle that's happening here keeps all my lines, my pump, everything from freezing, no matter how cold it gets. On this side I've got my batteries, we can get into that in a bit. And then also on this side is I've got storage for, this is what extends my bed. So this thing slides out of here, I can show you that, and then it'll get clipped into here, and it just provides a little bit of extension so you can sleep this way. It's still, it only comes out, I think I came out a foot, maybe a foot out of here, or maybe 10 inches. So there's still room here to walk and everything, but it just extends the bed just enough. So I think it extends it to maybe 6'5" or something like that. Here's my table, just a piece of plywood with some of these picnic table legs on it. They fold up, and then I just use some aluminum brackets that it sits down on. That sits in place. There's some my homemade cushions. Not great, but they work well. And then I've got LED lights everywhere. These are just the RV LED lights off of Amazon. They're great, really nice and bright. And so I've got the one at the back and then 3 up front. Got a little fan here, a fantastic fan. Works great. It's simple. I like that. I don't like the controls where you're, just more things to go wrong, I think. So then if we go to this side over here, sorry, hope that was slow enough for you. So up top you'll see these are my controls. So then over here I've got my solar display. I'm missing my thermometer. I just had an exterior and interior thermometer that's gone. And then it's just a capacity indicator of my batteries. Lets me know how much I've used. So we've been out here for now 2.5 days, almost 3 days. With all the lights on, water pump running, furnace going, heater going, fridge going. And it's nice with this one because you can see what each thing is drawing. So this is you can see how many amps right now I'm drawing. So that's with all my lights on. My fridge right now is running, and my diesel heater. So what, 5 to 5.5 amps. A couple USB charging plugs up there. Okay, let me show you how I set this up for sleeping, okay? turbo folds down just like I mentioned with those legs, so you can just lift it up. And I just set it on those brackets, and then I just fold up the legs. And then you can just slide out the cushions, they just fit in. And then the bed extension just comes right out of here. Just slide it out. And then on the bed extension, it's got these little latches that clip onto the main thing that holds it all together. You just set it on, and then you latch it. You can just latch it through there and through here, and then there's still a spot. There's still a spot where you can put your boots and everything, and it doesn't block the heat coming from the heater. It keeps the floor still nice and warm. So that's where it goes. Folds away pretty good. Just like that. So now let me show you what's underneath the benches. Okay, to access the rear benches, just through the back doors here. So this is the battery side here. You just flip up the cushion. Now the benches I just put with this piano hinge on there. So you can just flip up the top. And under here you'll see, so I've got some storage up there. That's just for like lighting, emergency things like that. You can see where the bed extension is in here. Here's my battery box. So I've got four 6-volt batteries in here. I think 520 amp hours total. At the back, here's my electrical. So I've got my fuse panel here, and then the shutoff or breaker, circuit breaker for my fuse panel, and also then my circuit breaker to shut off my solar panel. So under here I've got my charge controller, and then again another shut off to shut off the panels to it. So this here's just a surge protector. That's where the 15 amp plug from outside comes through straight into here, and then from here I've got my charger. So this has got, it can be a supply, or it can be a 6-volt charger or a 12-volt. So I've got it set up to do 12-volt. And then also I'm going to run a plug out to the front so that I can run 120-volt when I'm in camping in a campground. So that's that side. And again, I put another vent on the side there just to allow a little bit of air in there, especially for that charge controller that needs a lot of air. It can't overheat. So now I'll just jump over to the other side. So on this side I've got my water tank, all my water lines, and my diesel heaters over there. So let's just flip it up. I'll just show you what's in there. So we just gotta lift this cushion. Come on, you, get off. Off you go. Come on, off you go. Okay, again, piano hinge, top of the bench. So in here you can see, so what I've got is my tank, 30-gallon tank, my fill for my tank, just a vent for the tank, and then this is the water line coming out of the bottom. I've got a drain for that water line here, so I can drain the water out of the tank. I also have another shut off right here, and a shut off a valve here. And what I do with this is how I fill it with RV antifreeze. So I just put this into a container of RV antifreeze, open up this valve, shut that valve, turn on the pump, and it just pumps RV antifreeze through the whole system. So there's my pump. I've got a little filter in there. I try to do flexible lines, and then I put it on these little vibration pads, but it's still very loud. And then here's the diesel heater. So this diesel heater, it's got a metal cover, because I read that sometimes the plastic covers, they would shrink or expand because of the heat, and then they'd make noise, they'd rub. So this is a metal, it's got a metal cover on top of it. And then yeah, just your standard diesel heater. The shutoff for it is up there for when I'm camping this summer. I can shut it off so that it's not drawing any power. This is the fan for my fridge. So when my fridge comes on, this fan turns on and sucks the air through underneath the fridge, there's some vents up top there on the fridge, and it keeps it nice and cool. But this, having the diesel heater here, I think is the best system that's kept this all heated. It doesn't freeze in the winter because it's drawing air from this grate through and then across everything, and then it's blowing it out through the heater, blowing it out to heat the cabin. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. Also, if you have any questions or comments, please note them below. I try to respond to all the comments, so I appreciate your suggestions too. I think a lot of your suggestions have helped me in building this. So hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.